Hello and welcome back to another episode of Monday Morning Manager. My name is Dillon Meehan. I am a writer for City Xtra. Once again, I am joined by Philcaso, and we are here to talk about Manchester City's thrashing of Liverpool, a absolutely massive 3-0 win. I don't know why I just forgot the score for a second. 3-0 win. Not my normal location. I'm calling from an undisclosed hotel in San Francisco, but just want to check in with you, see how you're doing, see how you're feeling about this game.
I've never felt better about Manchester. No, I'm joking. It was good though. It was really quite a good match, honestly. And I thought that a lot of the questions that we would have had about like our team's big match performances and a lot of the I don't know the questions that we couldn't answer really with the Bournemouth performance were answered here today in terms of how scalable is this to this type of match with players that can really punish you on the other side and stuff like that. So really exciting to watch.
Yeah, it was honestly, it's a weird feeling to have this big game and like a dominant performance against a big game. It's not something that I think I've felt as a City fan in a year and a half. In I'm trying to remember, there probably must have been some kind of big game in the beginning of last season when City were still playing well, but it's not like jumping out to me. But look, I think it's still November, so there's still a lot can change, but it felt like this was the first real showing that this is a City team that can actually contend for trophies. And I guess that's kind of where I want to start is, do you think it's a little too early to put any kind of serious thought in that? Is it just like, hey, this is a Liverpool team that is really struggling right now? Or no, hey, they just beat the defending champions 3-0. They held them to without a shot for almost 80 minutes. Like, is this kind of a turning of a tides moment?
I think that a lot of those things that you said are like probably converging into being like completing the entire point about what the city match really meant. I think that we did obviously play really well. I think we played, especially in the first half, I think we played up to kind of what you would expect out of us when we're hitting peak flow this season. I didn't expect it really probably to come this early, but yeah, I think that that first half is probably a vision into what we want to be as a team this season. I also think that there are other factors involved. Liverpool obviously are very much struggling, and they're struggling to incorporate a lot of new pieces or players that don't really have the same role as they had in their previous team or even in previous seasons. So I think that we went through a lot of that last season, and I think that their form mirroring how our form was at the beginning of last season is less of a coincidence than people would probably say it is. Like I think that there are connections here between teams that struggle after coming off successful seasons, trying to almost reinvent the wheel a little bit. So I think they are struggling, but I definitely think that everything we saw is such a step up from what we've seen in the past. You had mentioned previous games. I really honestly, I know we beat Chelsea at the beginning of last season, and I think that that'd probably be the last match that I felt good about. But I didn't really feel good about that match. We played good for portions of that match, but we gave up chances. So I would say this is probably the best performance I've seen since the end of the treble season, to be honest, or something like that. Like honestly, even 23-24, I didn't see any performances that really in big matches really inspired confidence like this in me. Coming off of this match, I feel like we are, you said it's November. There's a lot that can change, injuries permitting. Holland has to stay healthy, all these things. But yeah, this team is absolutely in title contention. I think to be in title contention, you have to have a unit in your squad that is better than any other unit, that unit in any other squad in the league. And I think that our attack is absolutely that unit for us. I think our attack is head and shoulders clear of any. Honestly, Arsenal's defense is the only thing that probably is a unit
Yeah.
that can probably stack up in that. And it is unfortunate that our primary contender and title rival is the team with the unit. But you kind of have to expect that because if they have that, then they're going to also compete. So, it's just, I think this is going to be um, probably a more difficult title race than we've seen versus Arsenal in the past. This Arsenal team is more built like those Liverpool teams that we played in the past, where they're built to sustain and they're built to run us along the entire way. But we can definitely compete, and we have them at home still to come. So four
Yeah.
points off with them at home, and we have a favorable run in compared to them. So there's a lot of factors that go into this, but yeah, I would definitely be very bullish on Manchester City after this.
The run-in is a really good point to make in that kind of aspect, just because I think that is really where we have seen City differentiate. I mean, it's been at least 3 times now in the Pep era where that is really the deciding factor. And to have an easier run-in, I think is going to make it just so much better, especially compared to how many times we've seen Arsenal fail, how we know they can unwind, and how any little thing that starts to slightly, twist that nail and loosen it up, I think it can really, really give City an advantage. And that's just the one piece. Yeah, it's 4 points, but I don't know. This was the first sign. It was like, and look, I know Sunderland are playing shockingly well. I mean, they're fourth right now, which is wild. I did honestly thought they were not even going to. They're easily going to be the worst team in the league this year. But them dropping points and City winning, it really did feel a little bit like a changing of the tide type of moment, a little bit, for as much as it can be in November. But I'm glad that I'm not the only one that's thinking that way. I usually try to be level headed.
Yeah, I would say that one last point on the units type of thing is you mentioned the Sunderland thing and them playing well. I would say that the reason that I consider attack a more sustainable unit to have be better than everybody else is because of exactly what we saw versus Sunderland with Arsenal. They're still vulnerable to the exact same things that they've been vulnerable to for years. Going behind 1-0 to a mid-table side that can absolutely lock you down at home, and they just don't have the X factor difference makers at the top of the pitch to really just break through a really stubborn block. And that's where I think that we have an advantage. I think that we have those players in, Turkey, Foden, Holland, Doku, obviously now, I would be very confident if it came down to we have to see, we're tied going into the run-in and whoever blinks first is going to lose. I would back us in that situation. So, yeah, I think that we have a really exciting, 6 months or whatever coming up.
You mentioned Doku. I think that's kind of the next person to turn to. I mean, other than his, whatever it was, like the 3 assist performance or the I think it was against Bournemouth 2 seasons ago, maybe. This is easily his best performance. I think the stat that everyone has seen, he's the first player to score, win 10 plus duels, complete 7 or more dribbles, create 3 or more chances, and have 3 or more shots since Hazard in 2019. A real LeBron Elias SportsCenter stat of just how many things can we compile to show that this has never happened before. But I don't know if this is always going to be something that we're going to see from Doku, but I guess I just want to know, is this something where is Doku now going to be essentially tailor-made for these kind of bigger matches against bigger teams where he's not going to see low blocks, there's going to be space to attack, and if he can reach this way consistently, is he essentially going to become arguably one of the most important aspects of a City big game?
Yeah, you mentioned that those other performances that he had where he got the goal output, I don't think they're even close to this performance. I'll be completely honest with you. I'm trying to not do the hyperbole thing, but it genuinely might be the best winger performance I've ever seen for Manchester City in terms of seriously putting the team on his back and carrying us from out wide. This guy did it in every single phase of play, in every single way you could imagine. Out wide, in the middle, hold up, in behind, dribbles, goals, key passes. I mean, you mentioned LeBron. It was a LeBron 2018 performance, dude. He's special. He absolutely is special. And I think that if you said like last year, if you said every single thing goes right for Doku from this point forward, this is what you would see. Every single thing in his development has gone right. This is exactly what you want out of Doku. I have no notes, honestly. I could think of things to improve on him, but he's doing it all. I'm the biggest Marmoush fan you'll probably find in the fan base, and I just don't see a way that he gets back into the side in a regular fashion. It's shocking everything that Doku's done. And I mean, just taking that competition, I had mentioned to you pre-show about this, just taking the competition on his back, struggling last year, coming into this season, Marmoush really took his lunch to end last season in terms of the goals he was providing and the playing time in big matches. And to come into this season and to just not even let the guy that did that to you last season get a sniff, and to just put into so many performances that he's not even going to really, and he shouldn't. I'll say it honestly, he shouldn't get a chance over Doku. Doku has earned this spot, and you had mentioned him in big matches. I used to be, and I think rightfully so, concerned about the performances that he put up in big matches. He had struggled against Arsenal in those first couple of seasons that he was at City in those big matches. I remember a very specific match of him getting honestly clamped by Ben White, which is something that I would bet would never ever probably happen again. but he has absolutely established himself as a player who can do it in big matches. My concern with Doku always in big matches was he is lightning quick. He is the quickest player within 10 yards on the planet, bar none, maybe in any sport that I've seen in terms of explosion. He is genuinely very special. But over 40 yards, there are players who are faster than him in behind. I think that anybody will tell you this. Pep has mentioned it since the beginning of him being here, all this stuff. So I'd always been concerned in big matches when teams compress you tight, can he punish teams in behind? Or can he at least do the Grealish thing where he comes short and possesses the ball and never gives it up? And to be honest, he's doing both now. And he's doing both in all areas of the pitch. Even inside, he's a transition threat. He hit Foden. Foden should have taken a better touch and probably had a goal within 5 minutes.
I can't believe it. It's shocking.
Yeah, it was a technical breakdown from a player who never has a technical breakdown. But, it's like that he could have even hit Haaland probably on a cross the goal pass if he controlled it. But Doku also hits Ryan Cherky on the penalty spot, and that shot is barely blocked by Konate. That's also probably a goal. He fired a litany of crosses. Yeah, he won the pen. He fires a litany of crosses across the penalty area. I mean, he couldn't be touched. He made Bradley. I mean, Bradley didn't even. He wasn't like Trent to where he looked lost out there, but he still couldn't lay a hand on this guy. And Konate was seeing ghosts. Like, I could go on and on about this Doku performance. It is one of my favorite performances I've ever seen of a City player ever. So, yeah, I would be hard pressed to say that anybody is coming for his spot anytime soon in any sort of match. I think he is honestly essential to the system. I think that we saw a big drop off when Marmoush came out, and Marmoush is rusty. He's coming back off an injury, and he hasn't played very many minutes this season, and honestly since the end of last season. So we're moving on like 6 months of Marmoush not playing, but he's never hit these levels that Doku's hitting right now. So he's going to have to show us something. And I think this is a good spot for the squad to be in, right? To have competition like this all over the pitch. So yeah, obviously I was very pleased with the performance.
Bradley is a very good fullback. Like, I think Bradley is just a incredibly quality fullback. I think that's the thing too. There's always the jokes of like, oh, and it's a fullback that's like older than 30 or whatever, or if it was like only against Trent. And for him to do this against a Liverpool side, especially, I think it really is. I think it's a confidence boost for him that he needs of like, no, you can do this. And I think for him to win man of the match, do it against Liverpool, I think that the look on his face when he scored that goal and just it really did feel
he was like so excited, dude. You could feel it. You could see it on him. It meant so much.
And I think that for him, it really did feel like I don't want to say like a coronation. I do think that can get a little hyperbolic, but it did just feel like we might be seeing, like this like kind of potential final form version of him where if he can, and really now really is, it's about consistency. It's like we've seen it. We saw it a few other games earlier in the season. We've seen it now when you have like space against a bigger team, and it's like now you're gonna have to you need to do this like night in, night out. Granted, you're not gonna have like one like this exact level, but if he can deliver close to this kind of performance week over week, I mean, he's the best winger in the world, and by like a wide margin.
Easily. I said Lamine Yamal come outside. Dude, I am so serious about that. And I think Yamal is the best player in the world. Like, that was Yamal versus Inter level of performance. And honestly, in terms of final third impact, yes, this is probably what I would say is like the best Doku performance I've ever seen. But in terms of hold-up play and actual possession in the middle of the field and being strong and dribbling, he put the same performance in against Arsenal. He was man of the match for me against Arsenal away. So, and that's against Timber, who is one of the best defensive fullbacks in the world. So, like you said, the over 30 thing, that's completely dead for me. Like, people are going to have to find a very new narrative to hit this guy with.
I'm going to put a graphic up. Michael Cox wrote an article about how like Doku is like the next evolution for Guardiola. And there's a touch map for Doku. And for this match, and it was a little bit similar in some of the other matches this season, there's like basically two different versions. There's the like high and wide, like just like holding the touchline version of Doku. And then there's this like other version where it is just all up and down the left side of the pitch and a little bit on the right side as well, where it's like Pep is seemingly allowing him to play with, I don't want to say with more freedom, but essentially it's just what it is. He's allowed to move around a little bit more. And it's this different version of City's attack where it's much more free flowing in the center of the pitch. And I think that kind of also has to depend on who else is kind of playing in the pitch. But separate from Doku, I think the other person to talk about on the left side is Nico O'Reilly, who I've never seen Mo Salah not have a good game against City. In fact, I told you I was going to ask this. All I'm going to simply ask is, when do you think the last time Mo Salah did not score or assist versus Manchester City in a game that he started?
Okay, did he play in 1920?
He did play in 1920.
Okay, then 1920 because it was 4-0. I remember that
Yeah.
match.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
the last time in the Premier League he had not scored. It was that match, 1920, the no-look Foden goal, which is like one of my favorite Foden like moments, especially
They were
from
drunk
early
that
on.
day, dude. They were drunk. They had won the title like the night before. They were hammered during that game.
So that was the last time in the league. The only other time before that, which was the FA Cup, I think it was the semifinal, the Zach Steffen game, if you remember that, the like either 3-2 or 3-1. When
Yank shame, bro.
Yeah, it was. That was the only other time, I guess, like since that he hasn't scored or assisted, and Nico O'Reilly put him in clamps, and I was absolutely. I guess we've seen him have good games. He was honestly phenomenal against Madueke, against Arsenal, and luckily against Madueke, it's not Mo Salah. But to do this and to do it to the level that he had, I mean, I'm just going to pull up the stats that he had just because it was that impressive. But defensively, led the team in tackles with 5, 7 and 12 on ground duels, committed 2 fouls, only got dribbled past twice, but 4 recoveries, 2 interceptions, 2 clearances, a block as well. Salah was essentially, honestly, invisible for large periods of that game. And I know you're a huge Nico O'Reilly fan, so I'm just going to kick it to you to let you give your thoughts.
I'm going to start this in an odd way, but the way that Cancelo was spoken about when he played at this club was that of one of the best fullbacks in the world. And I think that is a fair judgment of his time here. Now, the gap between what Nico O'Reilly just gave us against Mo Salah and what Cancelo ever gave us against Mo Salah is so large that it has completely changed my thinking about Nico O'Reilly as a player. And you mentioned the Midweek performance. It goes into it too. I mean, that's a different style of winger, and he clamped him in just the same way.
Yeah.
But Mo Salah, there was a missing persons report. Like he did absolutely nothing in that match. And I'll be completely honest. I love Nico O'Reilly to death. I think he's a future £100 million player somewhere on the pitch, whether that's midfield or fullback. It doesn't really matter to me at this point. But I was always, up to this point, very sternly in Ryan Interi's camp in terms of he's going to come back into this team and he's probably going to have this spot. Just given he's played it for years, he's obviously been good. He's had great matches against Salah himself. He's just a top player, and he moves in a different way. But at this point, I can't say that anymore. Honestly, I don't know if you could get any more out of the left back position than we are getting out of Nico O'Reilly right now. And he's not mentioned, but just a shout out to Mateus Nunes. Very similar situation in terms of surprising me to the level of play that he is able to provide. But yeah, I mean, Nico O'Reilly, defensively, I think his length is a cheat code. I watch him win so many duels where he just basically reaches around the player to take the ball, and it's so easy for him. And he's just so comfortable in any type of zone in attack that we put him in. I mean, inside and defensive midfield inverting where he's the extra man, he's so dangerous there because he has the vision of like a number 10, number 8 to where he can pick out passes in those zones. And his first touch with his preferred foot, I understand he's the most one-footed player probably in the squad, but it's really good. His first touch is really good with that left foot. And then like we saw against Liverpool, where he's going on the outside, he's devastating in a wide overlapping role because that left foot is a wand. He can put in crosses. He put a cross across goal for Doku that I thought, honestly, Doku was just too tired to reach, because if Doku's at full tilt and I think he slides there, he probably scores a goal on that one. And he gets the assist because he was overlapping for Doku's last goal. So this guy, he's got to be on the plane for England. He's probably their starting left back right now if you're going off of performances. And I see him in our first 11 as a left back. So we got really lucky with him. And we got really lucky. Maybe we didn't get lucky. We were just smarter about handling him than we've handled certain other academy products, betting into the team, not only betting into the team, but getting chances and not pulling the plug early. Like, he very easily could have been Palmer. like very, very easily
Joe
because
Shields wanted him. If for those
yeah,
that don't know,
he
Joe
had
Shields
interest.
ran City's academy and is at Chelsea now running their recruitment. And there was the story that has kind of like come up over the last week that Chelsea were circling for him.
Yeah, and I mean, I understand that this doesn't work out every time, right? Because like we said no to offers for James McAtee, and he's now gone, and it didn't work out that way. But I would sit through 10 James McAtees to get one Nico O'Reilly. You know,
Yeah.
it's like it's very worth it to have these players in the squad who Nico O'Reilly will never leave this club. He will never ever leave this club unless we force him out of the club. And that is so, so valuable to have these guys who love the club and are willing to give everything for the club every time out. You go into bad form and you feel like guys aren't giving enough effort. You throw in these guys who have been here for their entire lives and who will give everything for the badge. Like it is just so important to me. And to see him performing this well, it really warmed my heart. It kind of makes up for the fact that Bob hasn't had the start to the season that we really thought he would. So just seeing another guy get integrated, it's beautiful. Love to see him keep going with it.
The combination of technique and his physical traits it's just not fair, because I mean that's the thing with Bob, Rico, and help Foden too. It's just like there is a limitation to some extent, and I mean Phil's gotten a lot stronger over the last few years, but there's only really like so much that you can sometimes do. And Nico really like there's that clear City Academy DNA built in with the fact that he is also just like super athletic, and it's incredible. And you mentioned the lineup, you mentioned Nunez. I guess that's kind of the next question I wanted to ask. Is this from a defensive standpoint, and how arguably it kind of can extend to City's lineup overall if you swap out Nico for Rodri, Nico G? Is this City's best lineup, do you think, with O'Reilly, Gvardiol, Diaz, and then Nunez? Is that going to be, you think, the strongest lineup throughout the rest of the season?
I would have told you probably that Kusanov needs a place in there if we're going to be secure.
I agree.
But honestly, with Nunez, you mentioned O'Reilly's athleticism. Nunez is extremely, extremely athletic as well. And I almost never see him get beaten behind. I see fast players take him for foot races and he wins almost every time. And if he's not faster than you, he's stronger than you. So honestly, I probably would say so. Just given the fact that Nunez isn't a black hole in attack. That's his advantage over Kusanov.
Yeah.
Kusanov is a better defender. He is faster, but he does nothing in attack. And that's nothing against him. He's not a fullback. He's a center back. And he's a very good attacking center back at that. He can play passes, but there are levels to this game in terms of
Yeah.
attacking output. And that cross from Mateus Nunes, I'm telling you, when I saw visions of Trent Alexander-Arnold, I've never seen this guy cross like this in my life. That cross was perfect. It was on a line. It was straight to Haaland's head, and he didn't have to add any force to it. If he provides that type of attacking output, dude, we might be buying a backup right back in next summer instead of a starting one. I'm so
Yeah.
serious. Like, I don't know. If we don't want this guy, he will go to Atletico Madrid, and he'll be their best wingback of all time. So this guy's got a future in football. I'll tell you that. I hope it's at City because he's been very good, and I think that this back line has been very good and secure. Last thing to mention, the center backs, they don't really get much praise these days because our attackers have been playing out of their skulls, and that's fine. But I think Diaz had an exceptional match.
That
He
tackle
saves
that he had, that
he
tackle that
saves
he had,
Donnarumma hanging so
unbelievable.
much on his face, dude. He saved him so much in that moment. And Gvardiol, too. I thought Gvardiol was really good jumping up onto Wirtz and really dueling him. All the
Yeah.
players were really good dueling Wirtz. Even Foden won some duels against Wirtz and stuff on that side. So I think it was a really strong performance in terms of defensively. And I don't think that the defense starts only at the back. You had sent me a stat previous to this about our running stats this season. I think that has as much to do with the defense as anything. Defending from the front, I think our pressing's been way better. And you had said that Foden had ran more than any other player on average this season in the league.
Just
And I think that
I have it pulled up just so, and I'll throw it up on the screen as well. But Julian Laurent, throughout this tweet, it said, I know these numbers are out there already, but still they're worth mentioning again. City ran 118 kilometers as a team on Sunday versus 109.2 for Liverpool. That's 8.8 kilometers more. It's the second highest difference between two Premier League teams this season after City versus Wolves from earlier, which was at a 9.7 kilometers difference in City's favor.
I'd seen the averages compared to our average. We're averaging 5 kilometers ran more than the average every game this season. That is so critical. You see it on the pitch. We have more energy. It is very evident. And I think that's why players like Bernardo end up in this team. I think that's why players like Bernardo are indispensable, I want to say, in a way. And after Bernardo
Are you
leaves,
turning
Foden
around on
will become
Bernardo?
that. No, I'm not. I just I know Pep views him this way, especially if you look at the comments Pep made about Bernardo after the game. He's like, "This guy will always have a place for me." He showed it today. He masterfully ran the game. He basically
Yeah.
said, "I didn't think he ran the game. I mean, I watched it, but Pep watches for different things than we watch, and I think that goes into the team selection as well." So yeah, I think Bernardo's probably indispensable for Pep, and Foden's on that track as well.
Yeah, seeing that Foden ran 17.7 kilometers, which was more than Bernardo, which I honestly think is shocking because Bernardo in these like Big Six matches, especially like Liverpool matches, is just a machine.
That's why a lot of the criticism for me of Foden's attacking output when he wasn't providing goals and assists just fell so flat for me. It fell so flat for anybody who looks into any of the statistics because this guy is the best presser in the Premier League. He is essential for how we play off the ball. And he's been great in build up. So to go at him for the goals and assists was just very negative to me. I thought he had another great match. I think that pass to Nico O'Reilly was basically genius at the end of the match. The outside of the foot across
Yeah,
the top of the box
yeah,
to
yeah,
miss
yeah.
that shot. You know, it was like I think that a lot of these players in midfield are really starting to hit their stride. Nico Gonzalez as well. So yeah, it's really strong.
And I guess to pivot a little bit to Foden, it feels like we are praising him every episode. Although why wouldn't we? The video that's kind of making the rounds is Pep just slapping him on the back of the head, and then just the hug that they have. I mean, it really does just feel. I didn't think it would be this quick. I always thought that Foden could play midfield. We saw it for England. I think about the performance. I think it might have been against Andorra. Yeah, I know it's Andorra, but he was like pinging passes like left, right, and center all over the place. We've always seen this ability in small little examples of it, but it really just feel we are 15 games into the season, maybe in between all competitions, maybe 20 games into the season, and he looks right at home. It looks like he has been playing midfield for City his entire career, and it to me just seems so shocking that so quickly. It's just like it feels like he could have been playing here 3-4 years ago, to be honest. And it makes me think of the performance. I guess it would have been maybe at the treble season, whatever the Crystal Palace performance was, where he had the two mistakes that led to Palace goals. And it's night and day compared to that, where his and Pep was like he needs more understanding of the game, and it just feels like he's at that place now where it's clearly such a higher understanding of the game, and we're seeing it in his performances every week.
I've said 2 seasons ago he grew up from being a little boy and he's a man now. Now I feel like Pep actually believes that.
Yeah,
He feels like he's in the Bernardo Gundogan type of mental place in Pep's brain in terms of he thinks of all those players the same way in terms of this guy's going to give me a performance. I don't care what he's shown me the past couple of weeks. I don't care if he's been scoring. I don't care if he's been assisting. This guy is going to go out there and do exactly what I want and what I need out of that position. So, yeah, I think that his relationship with Pep is obviously been critical the entire time of Phil's development this entire time. But now I think that yeah, he's grown up. He's just such a more mature player. You had mentioned that Crystal Palace game. I think that that game obviously was a turning point. He kicked on from that season to win the Player of the Year that season, so
yeah,
it obviously was a turning point for him. But I think that that message that he got that day about being smart, about being controlled, always thinking about the larger picture in a match versus just being Phil Foden in that moment. I think that yeah, it's been critical, and I think that we've seen it this year. This development into an eight. I mean, he's doing the Pedri thing. He's kind of that type of player right now. I would honestly say that they're very similar in terms of the roles they provide.
yeah.
Both are very underrated defenders, both very underrated duelers, both run a ton, both are connectors deep in build up. I mean, I love
I
it.
think Foden's
And
a
I
better
think,
goal scorer.
yeah,
I
and
think it's
Foden,
like undoubtedly.
and obviously, I mean, there are things that Pedri probably does better than him. I don't want to get
Yeah,
into some sort of player debate here or anything like that, but I'm just saying that's the type of player that he's developing into. And yes, like you had mentioned the goal scoring, I do think that is a critical portion of the equation for him, and the reason why he, while being in the Bernardo and the Gundo type of class probably in Pep's mind, he can also play along with this type of controller profile because he can step out of that role and be decisive in the final third and stuff. And he is very good for link up with these other decisive players. And I think that, yeah, I don't know, him being close to Turkey, very good. Him being close to Doku, very good. So can't complain about him.
I think the most interesting bit with Foden too is if you look at the amount of minutes he's played, it is significantly lower than what you would expect. And especially when you compare it to like someone like Saka, who has essentially had to play week in and week out for Arsenal for years, and you're seeing the impact that it's having on Saka's, career already with the amount of injuries. It really makes me feel like there is a significantly longer like time that we're going to be able to see Phil play because he just has not put the amount of minutes on his body that you would maybe expect when you think of like some of these other kind of like teenage sensations in the Premier League, whether it's Rooney, whether it's Fabregas, whether it's Sterling, like a lot of these guys that from like 16, 17 were just playing so consistently and they were burnt out by the time they were 29, 30, like their careers were just essentially either done or just a fraction of the player. I feel like for Phil, it's like we're only just starting to see him hit where he's going to be playing, this many minutes. And I just feel like we're going to see a much longer runway of a career.
I've been saying this for years. This is the advantage of not overusing young players is the fact that they can hit this 27, 28, 29-year age range, still having some athleticism, still having their health, but their mind is now elite. You've seen this in so many of the all-time great players across sports. Obviously, Messi, Ronaldo, you're going to see them have peak years during this time, but LeBron James, all these types of players, if you can get to your prime mental age while still having some of your prime physicality, you will put up your best seasons. And I think that we're going to see that, as you mentioned, out of Phil because he has this lower load in terms of minutes. I think that obviously he's not an injury prone player in terms of recurring similar injuries. His body isn't failing him in any way. And he's now entering this time where, like you said, we think that his maturity has taken a complete step. I think that we're just waiting. We're just now probably scratching the surface of what Phil Foden is going to be for this club and what a career he will have if that is anywhere close to true.
Yeah, it's
imagine the leagues, imagine the individual accolades. I mean, it's going to be ridiculous.
I think Giggs has the record.
Yeah.
For Premier League players, I really do think that there's a chance that that Phil might chase that down. It depends, I think, on how long Pep stays. If Pep is going to keep extending, I definitely think that record is obtainable.
Definitely. I think that there are a lot of things that you can take shots at Pep for the development of Phil Foden. As painful as it has been at certain points for us in terms of us wanting things to happen faster, I can't give the guy any flack. I think that it has been handled masterfully to create this player while not only getting this player at the end of that development, we got title winning seasons out of him, Champions League knockout advancing seasons out of him during the development as well. The goals versus Dortmund to get us past the quarterfinal curse, the PFA season, even his performances at the beginning of the treble season. I mean, to get this out of a developing player is as good as it gets. So many kudos. Many kudos.
And then I think probably the last person to give kudos to that I think we had on the docket is Nico Gonzalez, who I'm just pulling up the stats right now. And honestly, it wasn't, I don't think, as impressive from a pure number standpoint, although 5 of 6 ground duels but on the ball, 72 touches, completed 50 out of 57 passes, which I think is just less than you would expect because City just had the ball, I think, less than you would expect at less than 50% possession. But he is someone who I think could barely get on. I mean, I don't think he could barely get on the pitch. He could not get on the pitch last season. It just really felt like he was not quite there yet from an understanding standpoint. And even at times at the beginning of the year, it felt like he wasn't quite getting it yet. And now, I mean, he just looks like a Pep 6. He just looks like someone that understands this role perfectly. I think the only difference is he does sometimes just, I think, look like a baby deer on the ball. Like I do legitimately think that he sometimes is so awkward on the ball and it really freaks me out. But other than that, he is at times incredibly smooth as well, it's this weird paradox that goes on. But it's not quite Rodri-esque. I think he's a little bit more athletic, and I don't think he's as much of a threat from like a goal scoring perspective. Obviously he had a goal, but It was a very fortunate deflection. He just looks right at home and looks like a Pep six. It's honestly incredible.
Yeah, mentioning Nico Gonzalez, before I actually get into it, a little quirk that I noticed, I had watched Culture Cam's video talking about City, and he'd mentioned that Nico Gonzalez has this weird little hop he does after he receives the ball. Every single time he'll hop in the air. I just thought that that's funny and something that I definitely will never be able to unsee now. But
It's weird. He looks awkward. He looks awkward on the ball. At
yeah,
times, it's really strange.
he does. But I think that not only the attacking stuff that we obviously saw. I mean, he played the ball into space from under massive pressure over the top to Nico O'Reilly for Doku's third goal. He basically created all the space himself, and he did that a multitude of times throughout the match. Like no doubt about that. But defensively, I mean, I saw Liverpool fans tweeting after the match. Did Gravenberch win a duel all match? Did Szoboszlai win a duel all match? And that's what it was against Nico Gonzalez. He erased their midfield in terms of any sort of transition threat. His counter pressing is always exceptional. He's always quick to win the ball back when we're in dangerous moments. He takes the right fouls. He took a foul on Wirtz when he megged Bernardo. He just took it. And I think that his maturity is Rodri-esque. You had mentioned there are obviously differences in their game, and I think that is honestly a plus given the fact that we're probably going to want them to play together at some point, and I would rather have a wider skill set that fills it out. But yeah, this guy is exceptional. I had mentioned that we hit the jackpot again. Like, was Rodri providing this level of security when he was less than a year in the club? I don't think so, to be honest.
No, I remember Plodri. I remember like that was it was
getting
it was
benched for
scary
Fernandinho.
hours. It was scary hours. It was like really like, oh, we're fucked. It really did feel like that way. Yeah, when Fernandinho was retaking some of those minutes. He didn't play in the Champions League match. Like he wasn't,
because he had struggled down the stretch that season. I just feel like Nico is just already past that stage. Like he's already to the stage of if he plays, we win. If he doesn't, we lose. Like that's like prime Rodri like status, and the fact that he's like basically there already is like, I don't know. It's very special. So yeah, this guy, he's going to be around the club for a long time. I would love to see him get a 10-year death row contract, because these La Masia guys seem to always have wandering eyes for Barcelona if they come asking. But, it would be, first of all, he's on a loan contract already, but it would be a heavy price to pay, and Barca are broke. So I'm not so worried about it. But let's just be safe with this guy, because, I don't know, Spanish six, very tantalizing for a lot of clubs. And he very much plays like it. Can't believe he didn't get a call up, by the way. But whatever.
Honestly,
yeah, better.
If there's anyone that needs to be fucking wrapped in cotton wool right now with Rodri's health issues, it's him. So right. I really can't believe that there's actually a backup, because that was the whole talk with like, well, why don't we just get a Rodri backup, is trying to find someone that is going to be good enough to play that role, that is going to be cool enough with barely playing, is basically, it's not FIFA. Like you can't just like have someone there that is like totally cool with like coming on for the last 30 minutes. But right now we have that with Nico G, and who knows how long this is going to last. It really depends on like how Rodri's health is, because once Rodri gets back to full form, to your point, they have to be able to play together. If they don't play together, he's not going to be here. He is too good of a player to just be sitting on the bench waiting to fill in for Rodri. And I don't know. Pep is going to figure it out. I continue to trust Pep. I trusted him with Doku. I said, like, if he's playing him this much, if he's doing all of this, like there is a reason. And granted, Nico wasn't even getting that much playing time, but I just think that Pep is going to find a way to put both of them on the field, and I'm all here for it.
You mentioned that perfect fitting puzzle piece, and I think that that's actually a really good point, because it is kind of a miracle that we found the perfect six who also idolizes Rodri, because that is like a huge factor in the reason he's willing to sit on the bench behind Rodri, is because he came here to learn and to play with Rodri. Like Rodri was a part of him wanting to be here, and that is so lucky for us that we have a player like this that is less concerned about immediate playing time and more concerned about maxing out his potential. And I think that, yeah, like you said, is what a stroke of luck, and to do it in a panicky way on the final day of the window. I mean, to hit that big of a home run with your back against the wall, you just honestly have to put your hands up to Cheeky, because, I mean, Viano's
fantastic party gift.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just one of many. I mean, it just says something about about Cheeky. He caught a lot of flack in his ending years, but now you're seeing Gavardiol, guaranteed starter, absolute Cheeky signing. Doku, the most Cheeky signing of any signing we've ever had. Nobody else wanted him. Cheeky wanted him, and he got through the door. I mean, and then now we were just talking
Nunes.
about, yeah, Nunes. I mean, Nunes. Okay, we gotta pump the brakes. What would it take? Honestly, this is kind of an aside. What would it take for Nunes to become a successful? Is he a successful signing if he plays like 2 good seasons for
if
right
City
back for us?
if
Because
City
he's
win a
only 50
title,
mil,
if City win a title and he plays, I mean, like if he plays like this, I think it's a success. He's right now a very good right back,
which is
and
crazy. Who would have thought that Nunes could possibly ever be a success this time
I
last year?
and what I wanted to mention, who would have thought about after the Brighton match? I was
Yeah,
ready to never. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I thought it was a Fabian Delph like Wigan moment. It's like, oh, this is the last time I ever saw you with a City shirt. But there are, and I want to be very careful when I say this. There, and you mentioned it with his pace and his strength. There's Kyle Walker esque traits there, and he's big, he's strong, he he's not Kyle Walker would rely on his athleticism in a cocky way where he really would not be in the right position and it wouldn't matter. And I think that Nunes isn't quite that way. But the difference in athleticism where Walker was more athletic, Nunes is significantly better from a technical standpoint. Like Kyle Walker he would like fake the pass and the defender would never buy for it. Like they would never bite and he would just take the long shot from 30 yards out. That would like sometimes be like kind of close, but it was like never actually that threatening. And Nunes has actually shown an ability to put a final ball in, and it's honestly kind of fascinating. And I'm that's that part where I'm honestly shocked that this is the version that we're getting.
that's a huge Pep win in terms of a guy he caught a lot of flack for ruining, in quote unquotes, coming good. I mean, now you're down to like Kelvin Phillips. And dude, I'm gonna be so honest. If you're a 6 and you don't come good under Pep, it's on you, bro. Like, I don't know. I think that
I think look, he struggled at Luton. Like I think there's something going on with Phillips like upstairs. I don't know
yeah.
if maybe because he's had some like hamstring injuries and quad injuries, and so I don't know if he's like maybe like lost some of the athleticism and hasn't been able to like figure it out from that. But there's something going on upstairs with Phillips, which I think is kind of the saddest thing because he was fantastic in that Euros run, and I really did think that we were getting a fantastic Rodri backup.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I was a huge fan of the Phillips buy. To be honest, I was a huge fan of the Nunes buy too. So maybe don't trust my midfielder signing recommendations. But um, yeah, I think that's good. I think the development. Somebody had mentioned before that we're seeing more development out of the players this season. I think that's true. I think that ever since Arteta left, with those development you saw with Sterling and Sane under his reign, I think that the player development at City in particular has been a little underwhelming for players that weren't just coming of age. Like a
Yeah.
Foden or something who would naturally improve. I think that the marginal gains were smaller with the coaching staff now, and I think we're seeing some of those return now. And I think that it's no coincidence that you have Linders and Kolo who are in these Inside City episodes constantly barking at the players, giving small instructions. And last year, how they had mentioned all after the season, all those quotes came about how laissez-faire the coaching staff was last year, quiet and not really giving it. So I think that that's also a very big improvement.
Yeah, I guess it really must be just a hat tip to Colo and Pep Lenders because it is a crazy difference. And Wanma was like he was especially from a Pep standpoint. I know that like none of us necessarily really could understand it as much, but it seemed like he had a really good relationship. Like even with Cole Palmer, who I don't even think they spoke the same language. Like I don't think Wanma knew any English,
And I don't
but
think
like
Palmer knows any Spanish, bro. I'm pretty
Well,
sure.
like he was still able to find a way to get through to people, but it did seem like last season that all just kind of fell apart, which is why he left. And it's a really good point with the development piece. I mean, there is massive gains being made.
Yeah, and I would love to see this scaled out. I would love to see Linders might be on a 1 year deal. I would, if it continues how it is, I would be very much in favor of these guys getting extensions and being here
Absolutely.
at a more long term basis and seeing how this development stretches out long term with future signings and the guys that they're currently working with now. I mean, we're seeing the leaps that Doku has taken literally from the moment that Pep Linders stepped into the building. Doku has been a different player, and I'm not obviously I want to give him as much credit for this as possible. I want to give Doku the most because it obviously is him working on his game. But I don't think it's a coincidence that he wasn't playing to end last season, and he is a locked-on starter ever since the Club World Cup starts and through now, and we're just seeing him get better and better and better. So yeah, very, very pleased with all that.
I think that's a show.
I think so too.
It's been a whirlwind. I mean, this is just to pull up the table. City 4 points back. They are equal on goal difference with Arsenal. It is now going to be another international break.
Big match coming out of it too. Newcastle
away,
which is hell on earth. So we'll see. Big Dan Burn coming in at the far post, bro. Terrifying. A little Joe Linton elbowing Holland in the head. We're there for it.
It's going to be big. We're going to take a break, enjoy that. But yeah, man, anything else to chime in?
No. God bless Dillon Meehan. Oh my goodness. What a guy. He carries this whole show. So that's it. That's all I got to add.
Appreciate it. As always, I want to thank Freddie. I want to thank Jordan for allowing me to be on here. Still haven't bought the channel. Still securing funds. Still trying to find a way to make that happen. But yeah, appreciate it, y'all. Like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Have a good one.
Peace.